Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. You're watching World Today. Before we begin, here's a brief look at today's top stories. Malaysia is prepared to support any credible effort towards a negotiated ceasefire and an end to hostilities in the Gulf. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said, while some voices may push for a tougher response, history has rarely been kind to those who chose escalation over negotiation when the door to dialogue remains open. Iran's Assembly of Experts has appointed Mojtaba Khamenei as the nation's new supreme leader, succeeding his father Ali Khamenei. In a statement, the Assembly of Experts said Mojtaba was chosen by a decisive vote and is now the third supreme leader of the Islamic Republic. Crude oil prices surged past $100 a barrel early this morning and briefly peaked at $108 on Sunday after several major producers in West Asia cut output. Data showed crude benchmarks climbing sharply as markets reacted to developments in Iran amid rising tensions and growing uncertainty over the Strait of Hormuz, a key global oil transit route. In Iraq, oil production from key fields has dropped nearly 60% to roughly 1.3 million barrels per day as exports through the Strait of Hormuz were halted by the conflict in Iran. Energy supplies from major producers including Kuwait, Qatar, Iraq and Saudi Arabia have also faced emergency measures in recent days, including production cuts, declarations of force majeure and disruptions to export routes. US President Donald Trump, however, dismissed the spike as a small price to pay to eliminate Iran's nuclear threat, reiterating the White House insistence that the rise is temporary. The surge has already begun pushing up fuel prices across the US, a sensitive political issue ahead of the November midterm elections. An Iranian missile attack left damage and debris in central Israel on Sunday as fighting escalated on day 9 of the US-Israeli campaign against Iran. Buildings and vehicles were also damaged from the Iranian missile strike in 2 different locations in neighborhoods in central Israel. Health officials in Lebanon revealed that an Israeli attack on a hotel in the center of the capital, Beirut, has killed at least 4 people. Health Minister Rakan Nassereddin said Israeli strikes on Lebanon have killed at least 394 people in the past week, including 83 children and 42 women, adding that 9 rescue workers were among the dead. 3 of 4 Indonesian crew members on board a United Arab Emirates-flagged tugboat are missing after the vessel caught fire and sank in the Strait of Hormuz. The Indonesia's foreign ministry cited that the tugboat Musafah II experienced an explosion that caused it to catch fire and sink in waters between the UAE and Oman. Aaron Chiasowi's bid to finally capture the elusive All England men's doubles crown fell short after they were beaten by world number 1 Kim Wong-ho Seo Seung-jae in the final at the Utilita Arena, Birmingham, early this morning. The world number 2 Malaysians went down 21-18, 12-21, 19-21 to the formidable South Korean duo who claimed their 5th title in as many tournaments and extended their unbeaten run to 25 matches. The Malaysian men's hockey team were edged 4-5 by Japan in the 3rd-4th placing playoff match of the 2026 World Cup qualifier in Ismailia, Egypt. Malaysia, however, managed to secure their spot in the Hockey World Cup even before facing Japan, thanks to their strong world ranking, as Malaysia retains a significant advantage over rivals Wales and Poland in the race for the final qualification slot. watching World Today. Malaysia stands ready to support any credible effort towards a negotiated ceasefire and an end to hostilities in the Gulf. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysia backs diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions and restore peace in the region. He said while some voices may push for a tougher response, history has rarely been kind to those who choose escalation over negotiation when the door to dialogue remains open. The Premier stressed that keeping that door open requires courage. Several countries in the region, including Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, have faced repeated attacks. The violence has also spread to Azerbaijan, Jordan and Turkey. Datuk Seri Anwar said energy facilities, water installations and other critical infrastructure relied upon by millions have been hit. He noted that some of the world's key oil and shipping routes pass through the region, meaning disruptions could have global consequences. He also urged the international community to act with urgency before the conflict claims more lives and draws more countries into the crisis. Iran's Assembly of Experts has named Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late leader, as the country's new supreme leader. The announcement came 9 days after strikes by the United States and Israel killed Ali Khamenei, escalating tensions and triggering a wider conflict in West Asia. In a statement, the Assembly of Experts said Mojtaba Khamenei was chosen by a decisive vote and is now the third supreme leader of the Islamic Republic. Mojtaba Khamenei, 56, is seen as a conservative figure with close ties to Iran's Revolutionary Guards. US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, criticized the appointment, saying the new leader would not last long without Washington's approval. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi rejected the comment, insisting the decision on Iran's leadership is a domestic matter and warning against foreign interference. An Iranian missile attack left damage and debris in central Israel on Sunday as fighting escalated on day 9 of the US-Israeli campaign against Iran. Buildings and vehicles were damaged from the Iranian missile strike in 2 different locations in neighborhoods in central Israel. Israeli illegal forces broadened their offensive with new airstrikes targeting fuel depots near Tehran, the latest in a series of attacks aimed at weakening Iran's military infrastructure. According to Iran's UN ambassador Amir Said Iravani, the US-Israeli attacks have killed at least 1,332 Iranian civilians and wounded thousands. Iranian attacks have killed at least 10 people in Israel. 7 US service members have also been killed, with Iran saying on Sunday that it had struck US bases in Kuwait. Israel said on Sunday that 2 of its soldiers were killed in southern Lebanon. An Iranian drone attack caused material damage to a water desalination plant in Bahrain. The country's interior ministry has said it comes a day after Iran said the US bombed a freshwater desalination plant in Qashm Island in southern Iran, setting a precedent. Health officials in Lebanon revealed that an Israeli attack on a hotel in the center of capital Beirut has killed at least 4 people, with Israel claiming that it targeted commanders from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as it escalates its attacks on Iran. Early on Sunday, the Lebanese health ministry said an Israeli air raid hit Beirut's city center, targeting a hotel room in Roche, a popular tourist destination. In addition to the 4 killed, at least 10 people were wounded. Roche had remained untouched by Israeli strikes during the war between Israel and Hezbollah, which ended with a ceasefire in November 2024, as well as Israel's subsequent attacks in violation of the agreement. The area along the Mediterranean coast is home to dozens of hotels, now overcrowded with displaced people who fled their homes elsewhere in Lebanon due to the ongoing fighting. The targeted hotel was also housing displaced people fleeing the war in southern Lebanon and Beirut's southern suburbs, and some were seen leaving the building for fear of further airstrikes.
Tutup tingkap dan pintu untuk kekal dingin dan lebih jimat.
Oil prices surged past $100 a barrel early this morning after several major producers in West Asia cut output. Now, the move follows the ongoing closure of the Strait of Hormuz amid the Iran-US-Israel conflict. At 6:12 a.m. Malaysia time, the U.S. benchmarked West Texas Intermediate, or WTI, jumped 18.9%, rising $17.25 to $108.15 a barrel. The global benchmark Brent crude climbed 16.1%, gaining $15.01 to $107.70 a barrel. Last week, it surged nearly 35%, its largest weekly gain since futures trading began in 1983. The last time oil prices crossed the $100 mark was in early 2022, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Several Gulf producers have begun cutting output as storage capacity tightens. With the Strait of Hormuz closed, large volumes of crude now have no clear destination. Many oil tankers are also avoiding the route, citing the risk of Iranian attacks. Now, the strait is a critical choke point, carrying around 20% of the world's oil supply. Meanwhile, Iraq's oil production has dropped by nearly 60% as the US-Israeli war on Iran entered its 9th day. Production currently stands at about 1.3 million barrels per day, down from around 3.3 million barrels before the outbreak of the war. A drone attack involving 2 unmanned aircraft targeting the Burjasiya oil area southwest of Basra province in southern Iraq, causing material damage to warehouses belonging to a foreign logistics services company. Assistant Director General at the Department of Fields and Licensing Affairs in the Iraqi Oil Ministry, Kazim Abdul Hassan Karim, said the attacks did not cause direct damage to oil facilities nor production fields. Iraq announced on Tuesday that it had reduced crude oil output after cutting efforts due to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Energy supplies from major producers, including Kuwait, Qatar, Iraq and Saudi Arabia, have faced emergency measures in recent days, including production cost cuts, declarations of force majeure and disruptions to export routes due to continuing Iranian attacks. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and US President Donald Trump held a phone call on Sunday to discuss the latest developments in the West Asia war. According to the UK government, the conversation focused on the current situation in the region and ongoing military cooperation between both countries. The call comes after Trump sharply criticized Britain's initial reluctance to join the US-Israeli military operation against Iran. Downing Street said the leaders also discussed the use of Royal Air Force bases to support allied defense operations in the region. Starmer also conveyed condolences to Trump and the American people following the deaths of 7 US service members. Starmer had previously sought to maintain close ties with Trump, including offering the US president a rare second state visit to the UK. But relations became tense after Britain initially refused to allow its bases to be used for the first US strikes on Iran. The British leader later reversed his position, approving the use of 2 UK bases for what he described as limited and defensive purposes. Meanwhile, Trump has dismissed the recent surge in global oil prices, calling it a small price to pay to eliminate Iran's nuclear threat. Posting on social media Sunday evening, Trump said oil prices would drop rapidly once the Iranian nuclear threat is destroyed. He insisted the spike is only temporary and necessary to ensure global safety and peace. However, the surge has already begun pushing up fuel prices across the U.S., a sensitive political issue ahead of the November midterm elections. Earlier, U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said any disruption to global oil supply would likely be short-lived. He said the worst-case scenario would last only a few weeks, not months. He also told the news outlet that global oil supply remains strong, adding that there is no energy shortage across the Western Hemisphere. Wright said that the U.S. is currently in talks with shipping companies seeking to move tankers safely out of the Persian Gulf. Some early shipments may receive direct protection from the U.S. military while passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, 3 of 4 Indonesian crew members on board a United Arab Emirates-flagged tugboat are missing after the vessel caught fire and sank in the Strait of Hormuz. According to eyewitnesses' accounts cited by the Indonesian's foreign ministry, the tugboat Musaffah II experienced an explosion that caused it to catch fire and sink in waters between the UAE and Oman. One Indonesian crew member is receiving treatment for burn injuries at a hospital in Kasab, Oman, while 3 other Indonesians are still being searched for by local authorities. According to the ministry, the tugboat had 7 crew members, including Indian and Filipino nationals. 4 of the crew members survived the incident. The ministry also said another Indonesian citizen who was at the scene but on a different vessel was reported safe. It added that Indonesia's diplomatic missions in the UAE and Oman are coordinating with local authorities and relevant parties to locate the missing Indonesians, ensure treatment for the injured crew members, and provide updates to the families in Indonesia. Now, thousands of women took to the streets around the world to mark International Women's Day, calling for gender equality and an end to the war in the Middle East. Women led demonstrations in cities across Europe and Latin America, including Paris, Madrid, Istanbul, Rio de Janeiro and Mexico City. Protesters highlighted issues such as gender-based violence, pay inequality and women's rights, while also condemning the escalating conflict in the Middle East. In Paris, rape survivor Giselle Pellicourt joined thousands of women marching for justice and stronger protection against sexual violence. In Spain, rallies were held in several cities, including Madrid and Barcelona, where protesters carried placards reading "No to War." Meanwhile, in Istanbul, thousands of women marched despite a ban on demonstrations, voicing solidarity with women affected by conflict in the region. International Women's Day is observed every year on March 8th to highlight the global struggle for women's rights and equality. Coming up next, Dato' Azizul Hasni wins bronze in sprint event at UCI Track Cycling World Cup.
Aksi Liga Super kini diteruskan. Saksikan pertembungan sengit demi merangkul mahkota kejuaraan bola sepak negara. Perlawanan seterusnya, Jumaat 13 Mac, PDRM-FC bertemu Negeri Sembilan FC 9.15 minit malam di saluran OK, Sukan RTM dan penstrima langsung di RTM Klik.
We begin with hockey. The Malaysian men's hockey team were edged 4-5 by Japan in the fourth placing playoff match of the 2026 World Cup qualifier in Ismailia, Egypt. Malaysia, however, managed to secure their spot in the Hockey World Cup even before facing Japan, thanks to their strong world ranking, as Malaysia retains a significant advantage over rivals Wales and Poland in the race for the final qualification slot. Japan opened the scoring through Ryoma Uka in the 15th minute before coach Sarjit Singh's men equalised through Fitri Saari in the 30th minute. The Speedy Tigers then made it 3-1 with field goals by Marhan Jalil in the 30th minute and Said Cholan in the 35th. Undaunted, Japan hit back to level the scores at 3-3 through a Kazumasa Matsumoto field goal in the 38th minute and Raiki Fujishima in the 52nd minute. Japan then pulled away to a 5-3 lead with a Koji Yamasaki brace in the 55th and 57th minutes, and although Malaysia managed to score another goal through Faisal Sari in the 58th minute, the team from the land of the rising sun held on for victory. Third time's not the charm for Aaron Chia-Soweik. After all, the Malaysian pair crumbled when it mattered most to lose 21-18, 12-21, 19-21 to South Korea's Kim Won-ho Seo Seung-jae in the men's doubles final of the All England Badminton Championships in Birmingham early this morning. The night at the Utilita Arena Birmingham began promisingly for Malaysia as Aaron Wuyik started brightly, showing superb athleticism to take the first game in 19 minutes, sealing the winning point with a flurry of smashes. The second game, however, was the South Koreans all the way as they led from start to finish to seal a 21-12 win in 18 minutes and force the decider. Now, the rubber game again saw the Malaysians starting strongly, never relinquishing the lead until both pairs were level at 16 all. However, once the Koreans went 17-16 ahead, they never let up, and it was the Malaysians who had to play catch-up. With the South Koreans leading 20-17, the Malaysians gave their fans a glimmer of hope when they made it 19-20, but it proved to be a false dawn as the Koreans sealed the winning point to clinch the All England title for a second successive year.
Daripada Korea yang mendapatkan gelaran berganda selepas kali terakhir.
Earlier, Taiwan's Lin Chunyi defeated India's Lakshya Sen 21-15, 22-20 to clinch his first All-England Open title, while China's Wang Zhiyi captured the women's singles crown with a straight sets game win over South Korea's top seed An Se-young. Lin 26 showed great composure to deny Sen a chance at redemption, following the Indians' 2022 final loss to Danish great Victor Axelsen. Sen built a 9-4 lead in the second game as he sought to force a decider. But Lin, ranked 11th in the world, steadied himself and the pair traded a series of rallies before the Taiwanese shuttler seized control. Lin dropped to his knees with his arms outstretched before roaring in celebration, savouring a landmark victory at one of badminton's most storied tournaments. In the women's singles final, world number 2 Wang put up a battling display to beat top-ranked An 21-15, 21-19 in a rematch of the 2025 title decider. The 25-year-old claimed her first All-England title and is the first Chinese women's singles player to win the tournament since Chen Yufei in 2019. Wang also ended a 10-match losing run against An. Elsewhere, China's Liu Xingshu and Tan Ning overpowered South Korea's Lee So-hee and Bei Ka-na 21-18, 21-12 to win the women's doubles title. Taiwanese shuttlers Ye Hongwei and Nicole Gonzalez-Chan also took home gold in the mixed doubles All-England final. The Taiwanese duo defeated France Tom Giquel and Delphine Deroux 21-19, 21-18 in 46 minutes in the final of the BWF Super 1000 level event. Dato' Azizul Hasni Awang backed up his Korean gold with a bronze in the men's individual sprint at the Perth leg of the UCI World Cup Series yesterday. The 38-year-old delivered a consummate 2-0 win over Israel's Mikhail Yakovlev, who qualified second at the start of the day in the third-place decider at the Perth Speed Dome. Dato' Azizul Hasni, who qualified fourth, showed immense tactical awareness to outmaneuver the lanky Yakovlev, who is a full foot taller than him. The Dungan-born had earlier lost 2-0 to flying 200-meter world record holder Matthew Richardson in the semi-finals. Their second race, however, had to be restarted as Richardson fell while executing a track stand near the top of the banking. Richardson, the outright favourite in the event, went on to beat Australian Lee Hoffman 2-0 to win gold in the final. Bronze was a positive achievement for Dato' Azizul Hasni as it was his first ever individual sprint medal in the World Cup Series, formerly known as the Nations Cup. The individual sprint is not Dato' Azizul Hasni's forte, as it favours taller and stronger riders who are capable of pushing bigger gears for a higher top speed. And that concludes today's edition of World Today. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya. Salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you for your company.